So some key differences, and again, we'll start broad and then go into details here. The scope, the GDPR applies more broadly. It obviously covers a larger geographic area, larger population, but it also has some interesting terminology in there that gives it a broader scope definition. The rights, there's technically fewer if you're going to count them one by one, but the rights under CCPA are a bit more specific and maybe have a little more concrete impact on a business or organization. And then the penalties, there's a key distinction with the CCPA. In most cases, the penalties are assessed at an individual infraction level. And what that means is kind of per person, per incident. So if you, depending on the size of the breach, depending on how many people's data might have been compromised, your fee will go up. And whereas the GDPR is not quite as specified and has a lot more maybe wiggle room, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the penalties in one or the other are going to be less or more. It's situational. So moving into defining the scope a little bit more. So the territoriality and protected party. So the CCPA is intended to protect California residents only. So this is a difference from the GDPR. The GDPR is more of geographic border protection. It's if you are a data subject, a natural person anywhere inside of the European Economic Area, then you're protected by GDPR. Whereas California is only intended to protect California residents, as is already defined, by other laws in terms of what a California resident is. The CCPA also, just terminology, uses the term consumer, where GDPR uses the term data subject, but they're pretty much interchangeable in terms of how you think about them. They're both individual, natural, living persons, not businesses, not organizations, not other kinds of entities that might be confused. So I've got kind of an interesting food for thought here to think about, and this is again getting in a bit into the weeds and the technicalities of the law. But if you think about it, a Californian who is traveling in Paris would technically be protected by both the CCPA and the GDPR for whatever data they happen to be sharing at that moment in time. How about a Parisian vacationing in California? And the answer to that question is